last-minute shakeup at 5:30 a.m., laundry situation not good. And when your focus is on helping your clients, it's easy to forget about yourself. But NASM knows trainers.
Morning ride is okay.
And staying in front of the day isn't always as
Nice
simple
ride.
as 1,
What's
2,
up?
3. So when the unexpected has you pressing pause,
What's the latest on creatine?
I'm going to get back to you on that.
let NASM1 help you press play. Visit NASM.org to sign up for a membership today.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Master Instructor Roundtable. I'm Marty Miller here with co-host, fellow Master Instructor, longtime friend, Wendy Batts. Wendy, how you doing?
I'm great, Marty. How are you?
Good. Thanks for asking. I'm very intrigued where we're going to go this week. We've got two special guests that I'll introduce here in a minute, but it's a topic that even though I've been in the industry for 25 plus years, which is kind of hard to say, and the plus is really closer to 30, it's something I've thought about and dabbled with, but only until recently have I really taken a structured look at it, which is kind of shocking, and really now found a device and a tool to work on it. So we're going to be talking all things respiratory training with the CEO, Mark Carbone of Breather Fit, and fitness and performance specialist, and actually a longtime friend of both of ours, David Jack.
It's a pleasure to meet you guys.
Hi.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for being here. We know you guys are extremely busy. So we are live, just so you guys that are listening. And if you have questions as we go along for David and Mark, please be sure to put them in the chat box and we'll get these questions answered for you. But guys, I'm going to ask the question, and Mark, this probably may suit you the best, seeing how you are the CEO of the company. But can you just give us an overview of Breather Fit and then how it started and its mission and why you kind of brought it into the fitness industry?
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, we're actually in the business of helping athletes and military get the most out of their respiratory system without drugs. And the results are higher lung capacity, endurance, HRV, VO2 max, while lowering anxiety, blood pressure, and brain fog, which is a big one. And we were founded over 45 years ago. We have over 2 million clients, customers. We're blessed to serve so many people. And we were born in medicine. So for so many years, 35 years, I came around 9 years ago. I took over as CEO. But for 35 years, we were just in medicine. And it was actually Special Forces, Army Rangers and Navy SEALs came to us. And that's when we created Breather Fit. So Breather Fit, we started developing it about 7 years ago. And it was specifically for a use case of, the 1%ers, which I consider, weekend warriors try really hard. And of course, all pro athletes, but all amateur too. So it works. We feel it works for anyone who just wants to be stronger and better.
Nice.
That's great. And, David, it's good to see you again. It's been a long time, but, you're a dear friend and legend in this industry. So I was excited that you're coming on board, and I'm going to learn a lot from you because, like I said, I've been dabbling with mine now for a couple of weeks, and, I see the difference, feel the difference, but I want to learn more. But let's go back to the basics for those that are joining us right now that are like, well, what do you mean by respiratory training? So if you can give a little bit of what that means, and then why all of our NASM professionals should think about why this is a critical area of focus, and, what's the access to, and how do they train respiratory muscles, breathing techniques, and why this would be important for them to bring into their clientele.
Yeah, Mark, I want to let you start in on that just because of some of the research that we've done with some of our doctor partners and just how respiratory muscle training originally started. It was people that had medical situations where they had dyspnea, they couldn't breathe, or they were compromised in their breathing. And so the woman who created this product was not a product creator. She was literally just working with clients who were struggling with pulmonary function. And she said, how do I help these people? How do we help them start to gain their breath back, start to get strong again, start to feel confident? And that's really how this idea was born. And then it's kind of spread from there. But at its foundation, it was really dealing with people just trying to regain the power and believe it or not, the hope, the peace that comes from being able to own your breath. Mark, can you just fill in a little bit here on why the transition into the performance side, where we've grown from the respiratory muscle training side?
Sure. And thanks for that. Yeah, the founder, she created this industry 46 years ago, this whole segment. And these are respiratory muscle training devices. So it trains both sides of your breath independently, and it puts it under a targeted load. And, we know that nobody knows the exact, I guess there's multiple numbers out there unless you ask ChatGPT. There are about 77 muscles of respiration and 125 of posture. And it targets, because it's putting a load when you put it in your mouth. I know some people won't see this, but I'm holding the device. You put it in your mouth and you change the dial settings, and it creates different pressures. And that pressure is super targeted, of course, at the diaphragm first, and then all the accessory muscles around it. And it is really hard to target that without a tool like this. You're running, you're doing other things, but this is a way to isolate and do it in minutes instead of much longer.
Nice.
Yeah, and Marty, sorry, go ahead, Wendy.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, Marty and Wendy, one of the things that, we know, it's so interesting because I really didn't think about and know how to breathe when I was younger. And to be honest, even being a coach for many years, I really didn't understand the importance of breathing, breath work. So we have respiration, right, which is governed by the autonomic nervous system. And thank goodness that kind of does what it does. And then we've got this conscious breathing and this thing that we can actually lean into consciously and train. I just never really thought about it. And as I really started to dig into this and for myself, just start to practice and see some of the habits and postures that I had just accumulated over the years, even as a competitive athlete, as a coach, and then starting to test it and asking some of the people that I trained and really competitive high level individuals, it doesn't matter. Like, the funny thing is, breathing dysfunction is agnostic to the human being. And we would say, do us a favor and just take a really deep breath. Take your deepest breath. And I'll tell you, if you're a coach out there, you can do this with your family members, do this with some of your clients. If you don't coach breathing yet or foundationally teach them how to consciously breathe, just watch what they do. And it fascinated me. Most recently, I did it with a really, really competitive hockey player. And sure enough, like, his best breath, first of all, he tried to inhale. And the problem is we're already holding air. So the first thought was, okay, let me inhale when I'm already half full. And then it was all up here. And so I instantly knew that's that expression of subconscious competence. When you ask me to do something that I don't expect at a moment I don't expect it, what's my immediate response? That's what I own. And when you see it happen, and you see it happen in a way that isn't optimal, and I see it over and over again, I'm like, oh my gosh, back to basics, Dave. Like, I have got to where did I go? I'm talking about the 15 different ways to hold your fingers on an inverted row or something. And it's like, start majoring in the major. And so it's just been really cool. I'm still learning. And so I just wanted to touch on that.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because growing up, anyone that ever cheered or danced and you were going into a competition, they teach you not to show your breath. So you end up doing these different breaths where your belly doesn't move. So you become more of a chest breather. So then trying to change it to where you actually can move your belly was really, really difficult for someone like myself, as well as many of the other individuals that I've worked with that have kind of had that as their background. So I do find that fascinating, because it really is kind of teaching someone how to breathe from the start all over again. Yeah. But then that kind of brings me back into the next question. Like, when you're thinking about like innovative approaches, and so when we're looking at this, what innovative strategies or technologies does Breather Fit employ to enhance respiratory training?
Oh, lead us off, Mark.
Yeah, I love this stuff. Can I step back just for a second, though, about what it is that we've helped a lot of people over the years, but there are millions that still don't know about this. And what people don't realize is that, you gas out, but it's really your metabolic reflex is that, your respiratory system goes out before your limbs and other things. But when you get the reflex, guess what? All the blood's going to go protect you so you can breathe and you don't die. And they don't realize that you could go a lot longer if you had trained and you have a really strong diaphragm and all the support. And then at age 30, by age 30, our lungs actually start, depleting, and you're actually pulling in less and less oxygen as you get older. You think you're just getting slow and old. No, if you don't use it, you're going to lose it. It's the same philosophy. So we actually address that and can reverse that too. And the other big thing, what we found through a COVID study with 2,000 patients at Mayo Clinic, is that our autonomic nervous systems all blew out of the water during and after COVID. And what we're seeing is we have to reset the autonomic nervous system. And that's through a breathing protocol that we actually submitted a patent for. And we learned it through COVID over the last few years. It was pretty exciting. So prior to the innovation, and then jumping into innovation, what I feel that sets us apart is we just love to do research. I have a personal goal. I'm fighting. I want to accomplish, fighting anxiety, low energy, and sleeplessness. Those are three things I want to do. So what I do is I try to get some of our research to solve those situations. And we do that. We solve for those issues. So the research we do, like starting with NATO fighter pilots, all the way down to, 75-year-old COPD patients. So we're across the spectrum in many people groups, like probably almost 100 different types of people that we have done studies with over the years. And what we're learning, we just keep on innovating. So here's what's funny about it. It's breathing, right? And, the book by James Nestor, Breathe, I'm writing a book. It's going to come out hopefully by the end of the year. But his book is phenomenal. If you haven't read it yet, you have to, because of the things that he just challenges you with. But part of those innovations, real innovation, is awareness, that it's like every 100 years we focus on this, or every 50 years we focus on the breath and how to get the most out of it to maximize performance. So it's really getting back to the basics. But we're developing a new mobile app. We have a new device. It's called Breather X. It's as soon as you put it in your mouth, it actually can predict an exacerbation 14 days before you know it. So pretty cool stuff coming down the pike later this year as well. And other innovations are just constant changes to protocols. Because we get to serve so many people, we can be so specialized, like a diver or a swimmer or a biker or whatever the capacity. We are learning to create targeted protocols just for that person, for the use case.
Man, that's amazing. So, as I'm sitting here, David and Wendy, being in the industry on our side, you're probably thinking some of the same stuff. Is I don't know how many thousands of training sessions the three of us have done together, if we added them up, but every single client should have had the same goal, is to become a more efficient breather. Mm-hmm. I only had that probably twice because I trained 2 people with COPD. Didn't have the knowledge and understanding I should have. Yeah, I did what I could at the time with what I had. But then also, if you think about all the muscles we target and train outside the heart, tell me another muscle that works harder than the diaphragm, and yet we're focusing on everything else. So, man, there's some key takeaways here. So, David, as we look at the industry, and you've been in it for a long time, and now you've got a new passion here. So, what are some of the biggest challenges that you see in the fitnesses regarding respiratory training techniques? And you're working with Breather Fit. So, how are they looking to address these challenges?
Yeah, you guys know more than anything that some of the biggest things that we face as coaches is first of all, the people that we try to coach and try to help have to ultimately have a desire and a willingness and a belief in the value of something that we know can make a difference in their life. And so that first hurdle, I think, that we're always up against is Mark talked about it. How do we drive awareness to either pull people, not push, to attract them, to help them understand that this is really important. And as a matter of fact, if I do this, it's actually going to unlock so many of the other things that I think are challenges or problems that I want to deal with or endeavor to solve for. But I think first it's sneaking our way into putting something else on someone's plate and telling them that they have to do that. which leads to the second challenge, which is integration. You know, we think about a sport like football, they have a term, it's called insertions. You guys might know this. And so what they do is we've got this thing cooked, right? A way we do things, a way we approach the game, a way we manage our plays and we run our plays, and that's set. Well, now when there's something new that we want to introduce to the environment, it's called an insertion. And we've got to be so cautious with how we do that, because like I was talking to Mark, if someone really doesn't understand yet the power of breathing, and I haven't been able to get them to connect with it in a way that they've got this awakening toward it, for me to use their time, their energy, their effort, their mindset to try to introduce this tool might actually bring more distress than eustress. And so I got to pull back as a coach and go, my first job is to reduce threat. My first job is to increase the opportunity for vitality. So even though this is good, in this case, me trying to introduce this, and this is so good for you, and they're like, I don't want it. It's like I'm trying to serve chicken to someone who's asking me for fish. And try that long enough, and we know how that goes. So I think those become two of the key things. And so then that leads me to just why does this make that easier? And I'm going to get to it a bit later, but I think for me, this is kind of like this win-win-win-win device where you can come in with 5 different reasons that this might be of interest to you, but then it's going to give you all these other things. And a couple of things that I really get excited about for myself, it almost operates in a way, guys, like RNT. So it's kind of like how we would use a self-correcting exercise or a band. You know, we could try to teach someone to do lateral movement and tell them, you've got to drive and you've got to push, and then you got to come back and you got to decelerate. Yeah, good luck. Hook them up to a band, have them react neuromuscularly to this external force that puts them in a position to feel and be successful. And this does that for me almost better than any other way that I've tried to teach people how to diaphragmatic breathe, or find it in a way that I can actually feel and it connects the dots. So it's been really cool, but I think those are some of the challenges that we face.
Yeah, I love it. And David, I actually have a question to follow up. But before we do, I just want to say those of you guys that are joining us today on the Master Instructor Roundtable with myself, Marty Miller, and Wendy Batts, we have 2 very special guests joining us from Breather Fit, talking about the advantages of respiratory training. And this episode is brought to you by NASM 1, which is the membership for trainers and coaches. Members enjoy unlimited access to hundreds of career resources. So get the Edge app to schedule and program clients, enjoy half off all certifications and specializations, access to free CEUs, and more. All of this for just $35 a month. Go to nasm.org/membership to learn more about NASM 1. So, David, I find it interesting when you were talking about that, because, again, I can definitely relate to the RNT training and the different types of challenges that we have, especially when you've got somebody coming in, they don't understand anything about corrective exercise and what we're trying to do, but they're coming to us and saying, oh, my low back hurts and all of that. So if somebody is having dysfunction in their breathing patterns, this is totally off script. This is just why I want to target it back to you. But with this type of device, are they doing it when they're training? Are they supposed to be doing this at home and then they go into their workout feeling better? Like, can you talk to, like, if somebody wants to go through this type of training and use something like the device you guys have, how does that work?
Sure. Mark, do you want to jump in, or do you want me to start and then you can come in?
I'll go really quick. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 at night. Take it from there. It's that easy.
Oh.
Yeah, and it is that easy, and that's what's really cool about it. That it's really a high yield for a low expense. What I've done is really it's based on the individual. I think showing someone any tool, if you have the opportunity to do that, is just helpful, and they get to ask questions, and it's kind of that on-ramp. So I've done it in person with people. I've breathed with them. I walk them through the process, help them set up their posture, just give them, like I said, that on-ramp to set that foundation, because once they get that, and it's a really easy on-ramp, they're going to learn and grow. And what's really cool about it is this isn't like holding a bar over your head and having this really high risk if you make a mistake. It mitigates risk. It's really low risk in the process of discovery. What the company has done is it's also created really well done videos that you can follow along that hit all those key points of, it's kind of like, step one, set your posture. Step two, it really talks you through step by step. It's almost like how we would teach someone how to squat. Set your feet, straighten it up, however you guys teach it. And then they also have this thing called Breather Coach that you can literally have it be done for you and just follow along with someone to help you just work through your breaths. And some people like to do things with others or just be guided through so they don't have to think about it. But it's really easy once you get the basics to do it on your own.
No, it's great information. And like I said, even though I've been in the industry, I followed that information and it was so simple. That's how I started using it myself. Doing, like you said, a couple minutes in the morning, a couple minutes at night. So, since we're here with NASM and Wendy and I are passionate educators for NASM, so for either of you or for both, feel free to jump in how you see fit. So what ways do you believe education and certification like the ones we offer here at NASM, can impact the effectiveness of fitness professionals when looking to optimize human performance, as been cutting edge techniques such as the adoption of Breather Fit into their programming?
Well, let me jump in on that. First of all, I was someone who took the long way around with building a foundational framework of education. And it's interesting, when I was younger, guys, one of the things that this was my problem. And I didn't realize it until I looked back. Everything in my mind was, oh, that's an expense. That ongoing education, that conference, that whatever. It registered in my mind as that's an expense I've got to figure out if I need to value, instead of the mindset that, oh my gosh, this is an investment in me. What else? What? Not getting it till hours later. Oh my gosh, thank goodness I'm starting to get it. What else am I going to invest in that can ultimately pay dividends, like investing in us to be able to invest in others? And so first, I've just become such a huge fan of education. Second, it's all of the people. I mean, you guys have been instructors at the university level for like 2 decades, in addition to coaching thousands of peers, being in the lab, teaching. Do I really want to do that on my own and figure it out on my own, or do I want to buy speed? Do I want to buy wisdom? With Breather Fit, Mark mentioned we've worked with people in the lab that their focus is pulmonary function. They've done the hard work. They've spent hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to get to a place where the things that they're going to share with you are things that you just don't have the time and the money to spend on, and you don't want to. And so because they're passionate, and that's why I know you guys love education, I'm going to vouch for them. And Nina, Dr. Nina, who is just a rock star on the PN team, the PN medical team, the Breather team, research and education is at the core of this company. And I just think it's so critical. My last analogy would be this. Say I'm going to decide that I want to get into the lumber game, and I don't know anything about it. I'm just in the woods, and I got this saw in my hand, and I'm like, well, first of all, I don't even know what tree I'm cutting. I don't know where it's going to fall, that it's actually going to land on my house. It's taken me 2 days to cut this tree down, and all of a sudden I hear this noise in the distance, and I look over, and this dude's got a steel in his hand, and he's like, wah, wah. He's cutting these weird blocks out of the tree, and this back cut, and the tree falls, and there's a truck there to pick it up, and I'm going, what is that? And I think that's what we need to do with one another. Help people accelerate their career, but also build depth in what we deliver. Because right now we're at the risk of being really wide with what we teach, but really shallow in the depth of how we teach it and understand it. That doesn't serve the people we serve. And in the end, when we get deep and wide, that's when we have value for our customers. And that's when we get rewarded for that value that we bring to our communities.
Awesome. Well, guys, if you are listening and you have questions for David and or Mark, now's your time to ask, because I know Marty and I get questions all the time about respiratory training, and these are your experts. Marty and I know a little bit about a little. They know a lot about a lot, especially in this area. So be sure to put those in if you have any. But my next question, I always think about, and Marty and I always do podcasts on fitness trends, like what's out there, what's happening. So when you're thinking about the trends, and especially if you looked at the ACS or ACSM's fitness trends of 2025, you're always seeing these different changes. A lot of it is with modalities. Of course, there's some of the traditional ones that will be on there for life. Number one being technology. But when you think about trends, where do you foresee the field of human performance over the next few years? And then with that being said, how does Breather Fit position itself to adapt to the different changes that are constantly happening?
Mark, I'm going to let you start off with that one, and then I'll come in and hit cleanup.
All right, I'll do part two. So how does Breather fit in? What we're seeing, because the world's changing so fast right now, with again, I'll mention ChatGPT because it freaks me out how amazing it is if you know how to use it right. Is that we're actually changing the way we do business, and I know it's affecting trainers too. Is that what we're going to start doing? Is our offerings? There are going to be humans with it. There's going to be community. That is the way I feel. I feel that community has to grow substantially for our future. Is that you've got like-minded people in a group of 20. You're all going through the same thing for 8 weeks or 12 weeks, whatever the program we've got you on, and you've also got these experts like David Jack who are there facilitating with you. So that's the future we see, is how to fight all this automation and everything happening digitally is more in person, or more just feeling like there's somebody's got your back. It's 2, 3, 5, 50 people have your back. So that's something we foresee. On human performance, I'm going to turn it over to you, David Jack.
Yeah, I mean, you guys see this now. We see it in pro sports. We're seeing it in. The last time I went to the NSCA conference to just help a friend of mine out who had a booth. The big thing was really force plates, tracking force, but looking at it differently. And it's data, and it's helping us, instead of buckshot what we're trying to fix, like with a vitamin. Oh, let me just throw this thing all over you and see what works. If we can really find out what the real root issue is, then we can prescribe a very specific, solution for that. So I think the advancement in technology, how we're starting to be able, like even you, Marty, with what you're doing with movement, how we're actually able to really see what's really happening with movement. So it just clears the confusion for us as practitioners to be able to deliver something that is lower risk and has a higher effective dose. We just don't have the time not to do that. So I see technology and where it's going is a huge piece, but the pendulum always swings, and we got to be careful that it doesn't swing so far away from us that we forget a couple key things. And I'll say this, my friend Alan Cosgrove, and he comes off of this quote. What is it? What is it? How methods often change, but principles rarely do. Mm-hmm. And so I think what we got to get back to is the principles that establish the foundation of what we do and why we do it, the wisdom that has been age old throughout humanity. We forget history. We forget how we function throughout the course of history, and we just start to pursue the next new thing, but we threw the baby out with the bathwater. And so I guess another little analogy or metaphor would be this. If I look at housing, and you look at how far we've come with the materials we put on buildings, with the type of windows that we use, with the roofing that we use, with solar panels, all of that should transform as we learn more. The bottom line is those things can only be supported and sustained based on how strong the foundation is underneath it. We have to get back to building solid foundations for people, giving them opportunities to learn skills that transfer into their everyday life. And a coach's job is to transfer knowledge to the people we serve so that at some point they don't need us. And what they need are the fundamental skills and habits that create the foundation for wellness for the rest of their lives. And so I think that those would be some of the future trends. Use technology wisely, get back to the basics and how we coach and teach.
Yeah. And to your point, David, the basics is everyone breathes, right? And, like you said, thank God I don't have to think about it or I'd be in trouble. So, when we look, Wendy, don't laugh. When we look at performance, I mean, the big trend now is longevity, right? I'm 52. I want to be as healthy as I can until I'm 102. And, think about if I can really increase my capacity of my diaphragm and my respiratory muscles. And David, as you said, I'm big into movement health and those type of screenings, because without those, it's going to be hard to have that longevity. So I'm excited to see where you guys go and how you're going to be leaders in this. But I think everybody on this podcast, one way or the other, enjoys working with people. So can you share maybe a short success story, client story that, really showed that strategic approach, learning how to do this, just that 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, that microdosing really made an impactful outcome that, motivates you to get up every day and continue to do what you do?
Mark, I know you guys get client success stories coming in, and I'd like you to pick one. But then when you're done, I'm going to share a personal story with myself.
Yeah, I thought this was, I'm just honored whenever we get to work with Special Forces, and we it's not like for big public knowledge, but selection rates to get into the Rangers and the SEALs has been going down and down and down. The 18-year-olds are so compromised because they're like this, they're just doing gaming and they've lost their diaphragm. And when they go, they look fit, their muscles are big, but they actually have no endurance ability. So we went to one of the bases and we did a study with Breather Fit, and it's on our website. We can share all the info, the success. The 2-mile rucksack run. You're holding a backpack filled with your gear. We got that down by 39 seconds, the 2-mile run. I mean, and that helped selection rate. So all the guys that went through our program, it was a very simple program. The selection rate went up 30%, which was huge. And to me, it just feels good that I had a little piece. I had a tiny bit with our team, Dr. Balsic, Nina. I think David Jack was part of it too, a little bit, and others. We all just together just are blown away that we helped our frontline military. It was just beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah. And for me personally, I've had a couple clients that were dealing with just, being a bit overweight, being a bit unwell. And actually, we probably don't know. And I actually taught about this one time at Perform Better. You had that classic, practice what you preach, live the life. And like everyone agreed, and I kind of didn't bait them in, but a bit. And I said, well, it's really easy for us to do what we do and expect someone else to do what we do because it's all we've ever known. We don't know the difference, and it comes easier to us because it's what we do. I said, if I asked you to balance your checkbook to the penny every single day, and you're like, oh, and it's like, what? What do you mean? That's so easy. Like you're telling me you can't balance your checkbook? So when you put yourself into the position of someone else, and it's really hard for a lot of us to understand the mountain people have to climb when you don't feel good, when it's not easy to move, when it's not easy to breathe. And I'll tell you this, one of the things that I've seen give people confidence, and you want people to get early wins, and you want them to start to find ways to build confidence and to get this encouragement on their journey. When people start to feel like they can breathe better and their dyspnea, that's what ultimately stops us. It's the body's usually willing to go further than the mind will allow it for most people. Because I don't remember the last time someone stopped in a session because they passed out. Now there's some people that have gone there, especially in our Special Forces community. But so that tells me the body had more. And we could talk about technical failure, but usually the body's got a lot more, but the mind goes, I'm done. Fatigue makes cowards of men and women. That's the saying in the game. And one of those big drivers of that fatigue, one of those big drivers of that lack of confidence in that I just don't feel good about this is the inability to breathe and get oxygen to our muscles, to the demand that's working. And so this does that in a really powerful way. My personal story is I got crushed, didn't see it coming, got crushed with COVID in 2022. It took me right to the edge. I couldn't move. I couldn't work out. I couldn't exercise for months. And this thing, because I couldn't do vigorous activity, this is the Breather. It's got less resistance than the Breather Fit. I had to use this. I could barely walk like 150 yards at an up tempo. This was able to give me a sense of sanity and able to help my lung capacity, my breath capacity, not atrophy in such a way that I would really be in trouble when I started to reintegrate the rest of my body, was ready to move into fitness and movement again. So it just really surprised me how helpful this was, not only for this, but for this, which was a huge part of my recovery, getting back on my feet again.
Wendy, you might be muted.
Yeah, so I was going to say there's nothing like success stories. They're always the best. So thank you both for sharing those. Especially I'm a military brat, so loving the military stories as well. So thanks for sharing those, Mark. My last question that I have for you guys is really the advice for trainers, because there's certain things we're very, very comfortable with. It's easier to teach. It's easier to understand. Obviously, it's harder to see someone's lung capacity and understanding how much of breath they're taking. So with that in mind, what advice would you give our fitness trainers looking to increase their knowledge of respiratory training and how to actually help them enhance their clients' results?
Mark, why don't you tell them, a little bit about some of the resources that we have if people wanted to just get some information and research on what we've done. But my advice would really be, just take a step back and ask yourself, do you really believe that breathing and a human being having the ability to understand how to breathe and own the rights to their breath is an important part of foundational wellness? And it's okay if you don't believe that yet or you don't understand that yet, but just start there. Is this important to me? Is this important to the human condition? And then the second question would be, if that is important, well, what do I do about it? If I think it's important, then how do I start stacking up information and education and kicking the tires to start understanding more about this thing that I do think is important and valuable to the human condition? And I would say, any research can be helpful research. Don't go into the deep weeds and the crazy stuff yet. It's back to the basics. What are the fundamental things that I would need to consider? Like if I was going to talk about movement, the first thing that I would say is stay away from pain. Like I don't even have to go into all the deep rabbit holes of movement yet when I've got these basic concepts that start to guide me. And so what would that be for you as it relates to people taking ownership and having access to their breath in a way that helps them with quality of life, performance, and management of illness? The other thing is it gives us a better immunity, a better capacity to deal with incoming threats, especially respiratory. So I would just say start there, and then the journey unfolds.
To add to that, I would say that I feel that we need to evolve to become more and more of a tool for coaches and an additional revenue stream and an additional education, meaning that the more you know about the things that matter and foundation, you can go without food and water for actually longer than you think, but you can only go a minute or 3 or 4 without breathing. So I feel it's so foundational, and we've got pro athletes. They won't tell you they're using it because they don't want people to know they're using it, but we've got a number of pro athletes that use these devices and the protocols, and it really does give them that 1% edge, and all they're looking for is 1%. So I feel that for our future with coaches across America, we need to become one of your better tools. And it's all about the data too, because we collect tons of data with the app. And the more the coaches are collecting data, the more your clients won't leave you. I mean, that's what I believe. I don't know if that you guys are shaking your head, so maybe I'm onto something.
Yeah, no, I can tell you by using this, like I said, for a short period of time, I can sit here at my desk. So like there's certain things I have to find the time to do. Nobody can justify and tell me they don't have time to do this, because I don't care if it's while you're watching Netflix. I don't care if it's while you're whatever. It's good to be in a focused spot so you can really work on your form and technique, but everybody can have the time to do with it, and you can travel with it too. So no excuses. So, both Mark and David, this has been a fascinating topic, because even though we've all been in the industry so long, we really didn't dive into this. So I can't thank you enough for your expertise and allowing us to bring this to our audience. But, if you could each give us kind of your final takeaway, and also please tell the NASM professionals listening to us, or that will listen to this over a period of time, where they can contact you.
Sure, Mark, you go ahead.
Well, you can contact us. The simplest way is thebreather.com. Just go to thebreather.com and just have at it, and you'll find what you need. Advice was what I just said, is that you just need to have a tool chest of things that other people don't have. And people seek you out because you are the smartest guy in the town or wherever you're at.
Yeah. And I think for me, it comes down to, you guys have actually been out to a place where we gather people. I've just really come to believe that fitness and wellness, the human condition, is heading toward people helping people with good shepherds that help those people, and guiding people to connect with one another and share stories and help them along the way. Our job is to serve people. And in order for us to do that, I really believe, and I've seen that one of the most powerful ways is to do it together. And I believe the body builds the body, this collaborative effort where, Marty, I just want you to be your best and to help you do what you do. And oh, by the way, if we're in a room and you can talk about something better than I can talk about it, and if I'm actually contracted to be on stage, hey, I'd like to give the microphone to my friend, Dr. Marty Miller, because he can talk to you about this in a way that I can't. It's not about what I know or who does what. It's about who we serve and how we serve them. And I really believe that collaboration and education and just being open, we don't know everything, and it's okay. But if we continue to have that spirit of adventure, you're on, choose your journey and your adventure, but we help one another in the service of others. That's really where I feel like we'll leave something good behind for people to inherit. Coaches that come after us, people that we serve, clients and customers and human beings, whether they know it or not. And to me, that's the real definition of legacy, leaving something good behind for someone else to inherit, whether they know our name or not. And so thank you for having us here to let us be a part of that.
Oh, it's been great. And I know Wendy and I both shared, our thanks to bring such great new cutting edge information, to our audience. So Wendy, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I just want to say thank you very much. I did get a question that came in, so I'm going to ask you this. David, I think you were the one that said it, that, if you're trying to work with clients, sometimes they don't know what they don't know, and using the device kind of helps them see where they're at, and then you can talk to them about where they can actually go. Yeah. So if somebody's interested in using this type of device, can they use one and then show it to different clients, or do they need to have one per client? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so they can use theirs and they can ultimately demo it, show it, talk. Show and tell is so great, whatever you use. If you're going to talk about food, if you're going to talk about movement, if you're going to talk about something like breathing, having show and tell and being able to demonstrate, that's what's so cool about. I'm actually going to use this one because I'm taking it easy. And the cool thing is I can adjust the dials. And by the way, there's a ton of stuff there. We use it for prep, for cool down, leading into meditation, in the middle of meditations. It's so cool. But the bottom line is, when you show someone what you do, you can teach around the wins that something would provide someone. So just by using this, and Marty, you're using it, so you know it. When you use this, it's going to help. It's going to help balance out fight or flight. It's going to help you get into a place where you can down-regulate and relax and be focused, where you can follow your breath, where you're going to change your posture. Just breaking posture change for people throughout the day. That might be as big of a win as what you do with the breathing. So start with yourself, tie it to something they're interested in. And I think anything that someone's after, you can funnel down and make an argument that helping you breathe better is going to help you get to the thing that you want to get to. I think, Mark, I'll say this, you could pull me back. If there's someone out there like that that individual right there who's like, I'd like to try this, I would love, on my account, Mark, you get that person's name. We'll send them a breather fit on us, and they can start messing around with it and ask us questions and give us feedback so we can learn and we can teach another teacher.
That's
be
great.
Careful. It's an NASM person, so you may want to take that back.
Yeah. Let's do it. And it's single use, Wendy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Single user. Yep.
Perfect. Marty, you're on mute now.
Sorry. So we both did it. As we wrap up, we've got our IRSA, which is now HFA, around the corner. Before you know it, there's going to be 10,000 of us out in Las Vegas in March. I know I'm going to be there. I'm hoping that you guys will be there. Let's find each other. Let's spend some time, continue this conversation, continue that outreach. And this will become a more normalized conversation within the fitness industry.
That's exciting.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to see the both of you guys there. We can't thank you enough for joining us.
Thank you.
Wendy,
that was quite a send-off Mark had, right?
Yes, he did. I hope the people watching saw the fireworks. But
yes,
Wendy, I think it's imperative that you and I continue to dig, turn over all the leaves and stones out there in the industry, and find something new for our clientele base. And I have a feeling maybe in a few months after we get a lot of questions, we'll bring them back and talk about how this fits into the OPT model, because it's a great tool. I love it, and you need to get your hands on one.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Awesome.
Well, Marty, thanks for bringing them on. They're incredible. And like I said, I don't think we do enough talking about the the breathing portion. Again, we've done some stuff with mindfulness and everything on Random Fit, but I think it's health and wellness. It all fits. And like he said, you can't go without breath or you're dead. So
yep, pretty much important. So Wendy, great job as always. Thank you for all of you that joined us on this week's Master Instructor Roundtable. And of course, we look forward to seeing you on next week's edition.